Hey guys, Mystic Aidan here. This video was actually released a couple days ago on Cyanize's channel for his big Nintendo Switch send-off collaboration celebration. However, my boy Noirheart absolutely killed it on the editing, so I'm uploading it here too. Plus, I've got a special announcement at the end that you won't want to miss. And without further ado, my short reviews for every single Pokemon game on the Nintendo Switch. Hey guys, Mystic Aidan here. As the Pokemon guy, I'm sure that I'm the best equipped to review every Pokemon game on Switch and all of their DLC. If you count DLC separate but not the dual releases, that's about 20 games. So sorry if I'm a bit brief here on some of these. Alright, first game, Pokkén Tournament DX, the port of the Wii U title. DX adds in the post-launch arcade characters, plus Decidui. This game really flew under the radar, and that's so unfortunate. Pokkén Tournament is a fighting game with a ton of depth, mainly due to having both 3D arena and classic 2D combat. It's also one of the best looking games in the series by a long shot. Shout out to my fellow Gengar mains, by the way. Pokkén Tournament DX had DLC adding both Aegislash and Blastoise as playable characters. There was a bunch of new assists added too. However, Blastoise has destroyed me so many times on stream that I've decided he sucks. Aegislash is probably cool though. Incredibly short section. I didn't actually own the DLC. Oopsie, that's why we don't have Pokkén 2. Pokémon Quest is a Minecraft voxel-style mobile game that's also on Switch. It's sort of an auto-battler with light dungeon crawling elements. The game is certainly a bit greedy, but it's fun enough for a free-to-play title. Oh, and fun fact, while the English version stopped getting content years ago, the game in China went on until I think earlier this year. Neat stuff. Pokémon Let's Go Pikachu and Pokémon Let's Go Eevee is a strange mishmash of a Kanto remake with new Pokémon Go mechanics. It removes a lot of the depth to battles with no items or abilities in sight. However, the lack of these more in-depth mechanics with the addition of co-op makes this perfect for new, younger fans to play with their parents. Especially with the Pokéball Plus, which is just a charming little controller gimmick. And of course there is one giant plus to the game, which is being able to storm through Kanto with completely overpowered Mega Pokemon and Alolan forms. That is just rad. And now for the hottest take in this entire video, Pokemon Sword and Shield are not that terrible. Dare I say they're actually pretty good? I've replayed through Pokemon Sword on stream recently and I had a great time. Don't get me wrong, it's definitely slower than almost all of the other mainline Pokemon games. But the sheer variety of Pokemon available in the game in the wild or otherwise make it actually really fun to replay. If you ever want to give Pokemon Sword and Shield a second chance, go out of your way to try and build a unique team. You can access almost the entire wild area instantly. It's totally possible. The Isle of Armor is its own semi-isolated, very short campaign that scales to your current level progress in the main game. It's a perfect, very short detour for the middle of your Pokemon Sword and Shield run, but it's a real shame that you can't actually finish it until you beat the post-game story and catch the box legendary. The entire DLC is basically a mini Pokemon game inside your regular Pokemon game that rewards you with a competitive monster of a legendary Pokemon at the end. I'd even call it underrated. Unfortunately, the second half of Switch's DLC, the Crown Tundra, is a little underwhelming. Instead of a short campaign from A to B, it's a set of quests to catch 5 golems, 3 birds, a deer, and a horse of your choice. It's actually really fun catching the legendary Pokemon on your first run through, but once you know how to do all of the puzzles, the replay value is completely lost. Which is where Dynamax Adventures come in. Dynamax Adventures is effectively this game's sort of mini rental Pokemon mode. Think of it like a battle facility in the previous games. You, alongside 3 of your friends, use rental Pokemon to traverse through a set of raids ending in a legendary Pokemon battle. You can then catch the legendary Pokemon at the end, and in a crazy turn of events, none of them are shiny locked. While the Crown Tundra's main story tends to be a bit lackluster, Dynamax Adventures are so fun it really makes up for the whole package. So Pokemon Home isn't actually a game, it's just kind of cloud storage for all of your Pokemon. Although there's a bit more thought put into it than that. Allowing you to Wonder Trade and access the GTS from your phone? Very cool! Locking having any more than one box behind a subscription fee? Kinda lame. And in an unfortunate turn of events, being able to transfer from the 3DS's Pokemon Bank up to the Nintendo Switch's Pokemon Home is going to be cut off soon, which really defeats a lot of the point of paying for the service. Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Rescue Team DX is a remake of Pokemon Rescue Team Red and Pokemon Rescue Team Blue for the Game Boy Advance and DS respectively. It is also, unfortunately, the last Pokemon Mystery Dungeon entry we've got in the series, and have gotten nothing since. While not a remake I think a lot of people were asking for, having a fused version of the two games, which we never got a third version for, is pretty cool. That, and the game looks absolutely beautiful. Like, just look at these graphics. Imagine a full new game with this style. And I will say, including later generation evolutions, like Electivire and Sylveon, alongside Mega Evolutions into a Gen 3 game, is a huge plus for me. I've really enjoyed what I played of the Switch demo, as well as the original Blue Rescue Team, so I do want to stream it soon. It's the only Switch Pokemon game I haven't fully sunk my teeth into, but I want to get to it eventually. Pokemon Café Remix. It's a video game. It's got a cute art style. Not really a big fan of it being only in handheld mode, though. I don't have much more to say. Neat game. I just like Pokemon Shuffle a lot more on 3DS. And in the complete opposite direction, new Pokemon Snap is, hands down, the best Pokemon game on the Nintendo Switch. The long-awaited sequel to Pokemon Snap on the Nintendo 64 is perfect? Or at least the closest you can get to it. For context, it's basically a rail shooter, kind of like the House of the Dead, but instead of shooting Pokemon with guns, you're shooting pictures of them, which sounds boring on paper, but I promise you, it is really fun. There's so many stages, features, Pokemon, and the game just looks beautiful. However, while not spoiling anything, I will say that there are a few hit a very specific Pokemon with the very specific thing moments that you need to progress that are very obtuse, just like in the original. I really can't blame you if you use a guide. I had to at least twice as well. But I promise you, it is more than worth your time and the asking price. Please play new Pokemon Snap. Pokemon Unite is a MOBA. It is basically just League of Legends, but with Pokemon, and actually fun. I can really only play Zeraora, and it's actually kind of fun with friends. But only if you guys don't get mad too easily. Not much else to say. And then next up with this is Brilliant Diamond, oh god. Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Pokemon Shining Pearl are, in fact, video games. I'm in this weird camp where I don't really like Sinnoh a ton to begin with, like a lot of other people do. Pokemon Diamond was my very first Pokemon game, but that doesn't mean I'm really keen on replaying it. To be very clear, Pokemon Brilliant Diamond is actually a well-built remake. It's not some crazy, buggy mess or abomination of a game like some people would have you believe. BDSP, for all intents and purposes, is a perfectly passable Pokemon game. The developers made this really weird choice to base the game on Pokemon Diamond and Pearl instead of Pokemon Platinum. This means that almost all of Platinum's new features, such as a huge new battle frontier, and actually having Fire-type Pokemon available, are largely not included in the game. A lot of these issues are remedied by the new and expanded Great Underground feature, which I actually had a great time in. I spent most of my time in-game, down there in the Underground, having fun. However, I still wouldn't consider it some amazing game. It's not bad, it's just not that interesting to me. Once again, not a bad game, I just didn't love it that much. If you, for some reason, want to replay Gen 4, I think Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl are perfectly fine ways to do it, especially if you prefer to play through a game with modern mechanics, such as fairy types, for example. But all things considered, they're really just that, and not much else. Where BDSP was a total bummer, Pokemon Legends Arceus blew me away. Reinventing the overworld travel and structure of the games to be like a semi-open world action game, while keeping what makes turn-based Pokemon fun, was absolutely magical. The story was genuinely amazing too. Remixing elements of Platinum's story while putting more focus on character development and lore had me completely hooked. I have never felt fear in a Pokemon game before or since, except for when I fought the final boss of the post-game. Here's hoping Pokémon Legends Z-A lives up to the hype. And now, Pokémon Scarlet and Pokémon Violet. Dude, these games are so close to just being amazing. There's just so much to do, adding a badge for every single type. It's the most expansive any Pokemon game has ever felt, especially considering there's 3 separate stories. And that story is actually really good too, especially the Path of Legends. Thanks to the new open world format, you can really build whatever team you want by the point you're halfway through the game. However, the lack of level scaling, and especially the lag spikes, hold the game back a lot. If we get an absolute miracle and the Switch 2 gets rid of most of the lag for this game, I can see it becoming one of my favorite Pokemon games of all time. Pokemon Scarlet and Pokemon Violet are so close to the finish line that it is genuinely painful. But underneath all the technical difficulties and lag, there is a really good game. Unfortunately though, there's one part of Pokemon Scarlet I would consider almost unredeemable, and that's the Teal Mask DLC. The Teal Mask is very similar to the Isle of Armor. It's the first of the 2 DLC packs for the game. It is basically a short campaign to reward you with the legendary Pokemon. The Isle of Armor, as we discussed before, was a very short little romp on a fun, colorful island with these new, funny characters. Kitakami, unfortunately, is a very standard jungle area, and it's made really difficult to explore with all of the lag that is somehow worse than the main game. And for the part that I really hate about this DLC, the story is just gaslighting a child who only wants a friend with his incredibly shitty older sister. By the halfway point of the story, I just wanted to stop. I felt terrible for Kieran. While I at the very least appreciate having a new Japanese-themed region, or at least mini-region, in hindsight, I'm not a fan of this DLC at all. And in complete contrast to the Teal Mask, I had a lot more fun playing through the Indigo Disc. I'll admit, I am very biased considering this released on my birthday with my favorite region, so it's very special to me, but regardless, I do love the Indigo Disc. Following up the Teal Mask, you journey to Blueberry Academy off the coast of Unova. This features what's basically 4 more gym battles, all of which are in doubles. And to make it better, the BB League actually puts up a fight. The actual story conclusion inside of Area Zero is incredibly fun, and the hunt for all the extra legendaries across Paldea after you finish the story is a nice bonus at the end, alongside all the new multiplayer features. Dare I say that the Blueberry Academy is the best part of Generation 9? Maybe. Probably. For those of you who have actually been paying attention, you probably noticed that I skipped a game in chronological order. Coming out between Pokemon Scarlet and Violet's first and second wave was a very weird spin-off, Detective Pikachu Returns. As evidenced by the title, this was a sequel to Detective Pikachu on the 3DS, and was announced ages ago until it randomly came out in the middle of the year on Switch. The amount of time between reveal and release was so long that it's pretty easy to infer this game was in some sort of development hell. It shows. It really shows. The game is extremely lackluster. It's basically just a point-and-click adventure game where you walk around as Pikachu and try to solve a mystery. The puzzles, from what I played, were either absolute brain-dead easy, where I had to look up a guide online because the game would just mention a location, but they wouldn't give you any guidance on how to get there, and it's this weird gate off to the side of the screen, and I don't even care anymore. Detective Pikachu Returns is not a fun game. I wouldn't recommend it unless you are a literal toddler. Just don't bother. Oh, and real quick, because I promised every single Pokemon game, Pokémon Legends Z-A and Pokémon Champions. Pokémon Legends Z-A looks great, probably is going to be way better on Switch too, but I'm still excited for it later this year. Hopefully that extra year of polishing goes a long way. Pokémon Championships looks pretty cool. Being able to battle with the full Pokédex in its own application with all the gimmicks and Megas and Terastal and stuff, that's gonna be fun. I don't think it's gonna be much more than that, but I think I'm going to enjoy it. So in conclusion, was Pokémon Switch good, or was it some complete travesty dumpster fire? Grah! In my personal opinion, I think Pokémon on Switch was a lot better than people gave it credit for. For every huge stinker like Detective Pikachu Returns, you had a new Pokémon Snap just around the corner. While the mainline games certainly had issues, I don't even think I'd call any of them outright bad. I guess at worst, Scarlet was a bit laggy and Brilliant Diamond was somewhat boring. My only huge gripe with this console generation is that there wasn't a lot of standalone spin-off stuff outside of like 2 games. The rest was just either multiplayer or some live service mobile game. But in reality, just give it a decade. I'm sure people will come around on all this eventually, and all of a sudden the Switch is gonna be the good old days. The Pokemon cycle ride never ends. Anyway, this was Mystic Aidan, and that's my section. Alright, that's it. Cool stuff, huh? Let me know in the comments if you agree or disagree. Trust me, I'm willing to argue. Now for the announcement I promised at the start of the video, I've got 2. Firstly, I'm back to streaming regularly. I've been hard at work refreshing all my layouts and overlays and emotes and all that, so stay tuned. I've even heard rumors we're about to start nuzlocking Pokemon Violet on the Nintendo Switch 2. And now for the second announcement. This year, June 25th through June 29th, we're doing the VTuber Summer Slam again. Last year, we managed to raise over $1,000 just by playing Pokemon White with a single Darmanitan. So this year, to break the record, I'm doing Pokemon White 2 with just Darmanitan. But this year, there's a bit of a twist. I got a bunch of my VTuber friends together to form Team Cherish. Everybody involved is going to be streaming their own solo runs of different Pokemon games with their favorite Pokemon. As a reminder, all of the money goes to Gamers Outreach, which brings video games to kids in hospitals everywhere. Even if you can't donate, I'd love to see you tune into my stream or their streams or anything really. Any support goes a long way. I'll be releasing more info on the community tab sooner or later, so make sure to stay tuned. If you haven't already, I would highly encourage subscribing so you don't miss anything coming up soon, because I've got a lot more plans than just this. Have an amazing night and take care out there.